So what is it like then with PTSD? Like what's the process that you go through? Obviously you've come back from Afghanistan, you go back to base, and then you start the process of, I guess, like counselling or therapy.
No, but I didn't start like the counselling or therapy straight away. They'd keep an eye on me, but then it was like a series of events which led to like, obviously I grabbed Saudi, I grabbed him by the throat just for telling me to back it up, which was absolutely ridiculous. And every time I say it, I just think how ridiculous it is. And then like, I remember arguing one guy because I put the window wipers up on his car, and then he went off it at me, and he didn't go off it at me. He was like, "Don't do that, it's my car." But then obviously I went off it at him.
Yeah.
And then one night I went out drinking, came back, ripped a fire door off, took a room of other soldiers hostage, put my webbing on, put all my full fighting order on, and I was like, "We're going back to Afghan." And then destroyed my room, threw a telly out window. Woke up next morning just laying on a bed with like Gibbo like lying on the floor next to me, and then it was at that point where I was like what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember. And then everyone tells me after, like, you did this, you know, like you went and locked them in the room and you were fucking telling them to go to Afghan and that. And then that's when I realised that everyone had been watching me, not watching me, but they'd keep an eye on me. Because I went there, you know, like one of the lads was like, "Look, you need to like do some damage limitation here, you know, like you're an NCO, you're going to get fucked for this." And I went to I think it was the RSM's office, and he was like, "Yeah, you need to go to counselling, mate." He said, "We've been keeping an eye on you, we know exactly what it is." Like that was like the day I'm like, "Oh, get out clause." Like they were pretty sound with me, because obviously they knew, you know, like it is me and I have done what I've done, but and you can't really blame someone else for it, but that was sort of the reasoning why. And then obviously I went to counselling after that.
It's amazing that it had to take an event for him to say, right, we need to take action now, rather than you creating the events. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think they're probably better at it now. Like this was, like I'm probably the first sort of case of that in our, well, not in our battalion. It will have happened but in like the modern era of fighting in our battalion. I think like other people who've had it since then, it's not really drawn out to the same sort of conclusion.
So with all that happened there, so you've come back, you've taken a room full of, you've taken some of you guys hostage.
Four of them, yeah.
That wasn't actually the consequence of you being kicked out or leaving the army, was it?
No, not at all. So like after that, obviously we were supposed to go back on tour, and at that point I was going through my counselling. Like I said before, I'm genuine. You know, like I went to the RSM and I was like, "Look, like we're supposed to go back on tour. I'm scared. Yeah. I don't want to go." And he was like, "Look, there's loads of people scared in this battalion. Not one of them have come to me and said they're scared. Everyone's making excuses." So they posted me to Catterick, and I was there for I think a year or something. And then while I was at Catterick, I got mentioned in dispatches from obviously that what happened. And while I was at Catterick, we went to get our awards. And while I was at getting our awards for mentioned dispatches, the new CO was taking over, and he was there. And apparently he'd seen me, and he said, "Oh, he's got tattoos on his neck. He's not a very sellable soldier. Like, I want him gone." This was before all the redundancies. So then I've got a kid by this point. I come back from Catterick. I'm like raring to go. You know, like, right, I'm going to go and do some courses. You know, like try and climb up the ranks even more. And then I go in and. The RSMs, like, in fact, it was someone else was like, "Oh, is that you going now?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Oh, I thought you were out now." I was like, No. He was like, "Oh, all right. And then I had to go see someone else. And then he said to me, he was like, it was near Christmas, just before Christmas leave. He was like, "Right, you've got two options." He said, "Sign off now and we'll give you 6 months, or don't bother coming back after leave." And obviously me with a kid in that, I was like, right, okay, I'll sign off. And I didn't think out of it. Luckily, through that 6 month period, in fact, it was probably less than 6 month period, I had a lot of people looking after me because of it. Like, I had people coming up to me saying, "We've had loads of meetings and people are trying to keep you in the army. Like, people are trying, like, we're trying to defend you, but this guy just don't want you because of your tattoos." But obviously, at that point, they didn't know about the redundancies, so they're trying to get rid of people.
Right.
And it gets like, so I've been put on courses, like people are just chucking me on courses everywhere, try and get me as qualified as they can. And it gets to like one point where we're on rear party, and one of the guy who's you know, everyone in battalion's out on exercise. I'm on rear party, which is just a few remnant people. He gets one at Scarborough lads to come to my room, and he was like, "Tell Corporal Caglar to get to my office or I'm going to knock him out." And I said to that lad, I was like, "Go back to him and tell him if he wants to fucking knock me out, he can come to my room." And I said, "I'll be packing my bags and I'll be fucking going." So I thought, like, if someone sat like if you don't like a job and you want to get out, that's different.
Yeah.
I wanted to stay in and they wanted me
trying to kick you out.
So then why the fuck should I do anything? Like I didn't do anything. I used to just stay in bed all day. Like everyone left me alone because everyone knew the predicament I was in and they'd just leave me. Like I remember one morning I was like, I'd get back late as fuck. I would just go back just because I wanted to be there, you know, because just in case they did change their mind. And I remember one new lads was like, Corporal Caglar's not open. I remember, I think it was Winnie or whatever was like, shut your fucking mouth. Fucking leave him alone.
Corporal Caglar does what he wants.
It was pretty. I do. It does feel cool when I tell people like I just used to stay in bed and that. I just used to fucking live the dream. It was good. But then obviously it ended up in me. I left. I never actually got out properly. I've never done my final medical. I've never done anything. I think they just ripped me off and that's it. Like I remember not long ago. Like obviously I met my new partner and we had our kid and I was like what would you even do if the police came and got me today and then was like, oh, you've been AWOL for like 5 years.
Could you imagine?
Get yourself to Colchester for 10 years or whatever.
So how long after then you left the army did you manage to sort of somehow weave it back to become a YouTube creator? Then like what was that transition like?
It's probably I'd say like I started making stuff maybe when like what will it have been, maybe 8 years ago now, and that was just making stuff in my thingy.
Are you self-taught with all that?
Yeah, I just do it. I feel like I'm like my granddad, and I feel like the older generations, that's how it happened. You know, like people who write these books, someone wrote those books. So who taught those to write those books, and who taught that teacher to teach this lesson to teach you how to make something? It all goes back to at one point in time we learned from nothing. Yeah. And I feel like I learn a lot better from just doing something than being taught. Like I can learn from people teaching me, but hands-on experience and just doing something, I'll just gradually get better and better. Like I'll ask people questions or I'll look at something, or I just feel like that's it, you know.
It's pretty amazing, like to say that you went through all that in the army, everything you've been through, to be able to now have come out the other side and actually create a successful business, successful YouTube channel. Like to be smashing it like you are, I think it's amazing. You know, like it's a proper good news story.
This is why I say this is why I have a problem with, you know, like obviously some people will comment and they'll say stuff, well if I had that, and I just think like you don't know the history. Like I was living in my car, I had nothing, and then eventually like I've thought to myself like I can't live in my car the rest of my life, so I'm doing this, and I've gone from that to this. I ain't got rich parents. We had a black and white. The first TV we had was a black and white, and it was given off by a person down the road, and that was when everyone had colour TVs. Yeah. And that was, you know, like we couldn't even afford a TV license, so we had to watch it on Sly.
TV license is an absolute crime, anyway. But it's funny, isn't it, when people say you often get that thing, especially on YouTube, because that's really the only thing I can contribute to in this conversation. But,
or food.
Yeah, or food.
Or beards.
Those rich. You should have brought me some rich tea biscuits. You know, it's funny that people often think of YouTube as one of those kind of luck industries, you know, and they'll be like, oh, you know, you're so lucky. And when you do this kind of thing for a living, of course, you're fortunate to be able to do it. But it's funny that the harder you work, the luckier you seem to get, you know. And that's an amazing story. That's kind of like a turnaround, that, isn't it? To be that kind of what is essentially rock bottom, I imagine, emotionally at least.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To then be like Josh says, smashing it, doing something which is creative, you know, that you love doing, and there's relatively little risk that you're going to get mortally wounded. Well, probably a good thing. But
it also sort of leads on to his success because of, I mean, your outlook on life. Having gone through that will sort of bring to the videos, because you know we joked, we've made a video together before, which by the time this goes out should be live.
OnlyFans.
Not that one. But you talk about like your view of comedy, your alter ego using Deadpool, all that sort of stuff. It's so unique, and everything you've been through to be able to put yourself out there online with that with your sort of outlook on life and comedy, like that's what people are drawn to, like, and I think that's why you're successful. Like you have to go through all those things to be so like, I'm doing it, like no shit's given, I am doing this. And I think that definitely leads to, I think, why you've been so successful with it. I honestly think it's incredible. I think you're a top bloke. I don't want to tell you too often because you're still a knobhead, but no, it's absolutely
small.
And small. It's smaller than him. Mental, absolutely mental.
Still baffling.
It's amazing.